Zhaniya Aubakirova presents a series of discussions about the place of Kazakh culture in the global world. Meetings with prominent public figures, candid conversations, collisions of opinions, and discussions about the most important things.
Hello, dear friends. Today I want to welcome an amazing guest in our studio, Bakhyt Kairbekov. For quite some time now, I've been waiting to meet Bakhyt Kairbekov. For many decades, I've known him as a talented poet, an amazing director, and an enthusiastic person. He has a very subtle, lyrical, and deep personality. But unfortunately, we don't often have the opportunity to meet and talk about what really excites us. Today, we'll try to bridge this gap. Hello, Bakhyt.
Good afternoon.
You and I will live in our own nutshells, but at the same time, we invisibly exist in each other's lives. We observe each other, we get inspired by one another. And the fact that here we are having a sit down, talking to each other is something that I'm very happy about, as I don't know anyone else more fitting to be talking about culture. You're engaged in so many various activities that I can't help but be amazed at how multifaceted your soul and your creativity are. And of course, I'd like to know everything about you. How ready are you to share with me something very personal?
In general, I consider myself an open person, but at the same time, I'm not as smooth and as exemplary as it might seem. There is a lot of cheekiness in me, and this is perhaps due to the fact that I spent my childhood in the Tastak neighborhood. Back then, it was a rather hectic place. Once I remember a 9 p.m. curfew was imposed there because it was too dangerous to be outside past 9 p.m.
You weren't allowed to go out?
Yes, you could get arrested, and it was there that I learned how to sharpen and throw knives, how to fistfight. Although now I don't look like this, and to some this might even sound ridiculous.
Does your creativity reflect your childhood experiences?
Well, for one, I can always honestly write about any person without fearing a negative reaction. At some point, when 3 publishing houses functioned in our country, I worked as a black reviewer for one of them.
What does black reviewer do?
Black reviewer is a person who can write a negative review on someone from the establishment.
You could do that?
Yes, we had Central Committee instructors who wrote books considering themselves to be some kind of Belinsky. They could belittle someone, penning a review article, writing that the literature was not entirely civic. It would publish it in Prostor. As for me, I was assigned to do an internal review of their books, sorting them between shells, so to speak.
So this was a proper approach? We don't see this much these days.
It was indeed a top-notch responsible approach, and it wasn't that easy to publish a book. Sometimes authors had to wait for 5-10 years. I did what was then called Olympic distance. My books were published every 4 years. That is in 1978.
You're talking about your books?
Yes, I'm speaking about the Soviet times, of course. The books were published in small volumes, but in large numbers. 10,000 copies were a regular thing back then.
Colossal.
Yes.
Now tell me, if it was not for your famous father, a writer, poet, a person who's highly respected in Kazakh culture, would you become a writer? How much has his example influenced you?
I think I wouldn't become one.
So it was him who got you excited about writing?
I actually dreamed of studying physics and mathematics because I loved mathematics. And again, this was all about my cheekiness. I once fell in love with a math teacher, and I liked to make her angry. She would blush and become even more beautiful. I would solve problems with her, the ones that I would find in the university applicant's guidebook.
Difficult problems.
Very difficult ones. I used to compete in math Olympics.
So you're a mathematician at your core.
Yes, and she did not expect such a trick. Of course, she would solve problems, and later I would tell her that there was a simpler solution. That was my incentive. All in all, I was planning to apply for physics and mathematics. And then my father, who worked in the Writers' Union, was the first to learn that Professor Lucian Ippolitovich Klimovich had come from Moscow to recruit national personnel in the Department of Translators. And I loved literature. When I graduated from school, I got a diploma with honors in literature because I wrote my examination essay in verse.
Oh, really?
Yes, it was quite a poem. Good thing we had a free topic.
So what about math?
In the end, I gave up on mathematics because my father said, if you enjoy writing poems, collect them all, and in addition to that, translate something else. I did what he said. I collected my works in one folder and gave it to my father. I then focused on my school finals. And then, suddenly, my father said to me, "Congratulations, you have successfully passed the competition." I asked him what kind of competition. He said,
In Moscow?
"Yes," he said, "you've passed and you will go to Moscow." It turned out that the competition was huge. 300 applications were submitted, but only 5 people passed. So apparently 60 people competed per place. But my first shock was my mark for my first written test. Despite the fact that I was almost a straight A student, I had B's only for behavior and PE.
But you knew Russian, right?
Yes, but I got a C for my written test.
Oh, God.
I was shocked. I thought, am I that illiterate? Apparently, their grading system was very rigorous. They deducted points for commas.
A similar story happened to me. I graduated from school with a gold medal. I thought I was a star. And in my curriculum, I had subjects like harmony and solfeggio. They were hard for the majority of my classmates, but I've always found it easy. I could just write down notes whenever I hear the melody. But it turned out my teachers weren't strict with me. They wouldn't give me difficult exercises or develop my skills. When I came to Moscow, a teacher played a piece of music for me. I couldn't write it down straight away as I used to before. So I think we're both lucky to have these opportunities to develop further.
Actually, I was bad in those solfeggio tests too.
But it's all about pitch. It's elementary.
No, I was okay with notes, but the tempo.
But it's just math.
And yet, I couldn't manage that.
So you graduated from music school too?
I graduated from Amrei Kaushabayev Music School.
What instrument?
Piano.
Really? You should have said that in the beginning.
I am your colleague.
Bakhyt, do tell me. You graduated from music school, you write librettos for ballets, you direct large concerts in which there's always a lot of music. So, what is music for you?
For me, music is the beginning of human existence on the planet. I believe that once the rhythm emerged, a person became different. First he began to beat the rhythm, then dance, and then began to sing. And the poems appear after songs.
Yes, and the word came later.
Poems are an undivided state of text and music. I was very fond of music as a child when I studied at a music school. I loved it so much that sometimes when I was on a trolley bus, I used to close my eyes and involuntarily begin to sing. Once I opened my eyes and I saw that all the passengers were listening to me, so I had to get out. I had good teachers, but in the 6th grade I came across a young and somewhat dissatisfied, even evil person.
It happens.
She hated me, or she just hated the entire world, God knows. And she would always give me not just D's, but F's. She would tear my diary, that is how angry she was.
Oh my God.
And I stopped attending my music school. I became a regular at the park of 28 Panfilov warriors. There was a shooting gallery. I would go there and shoot, imagining her face on the target. I was that close to becoming a sniper. Then the headmaster of the school, his name was Bakhyt, called my father and said, "You pay money, but your son doesn't attend."
A no-show.
Yes. So he summoned me, I described the situation. He was an experienced headmaster. He sat me at the instrument and told me to play. I played Bach's solfeggio. He then said, "Show me your exam marks." I had F's in class, but an A in the exam. And he said, "Okay, I see."
I see.
My teacher was replaced. My new teacher was a good woman, but by that time I was already sick and tired of everything, so I told my parents that I would finish the school, but that's it. I would not take any further steps in this direction, and would definitely not apply to the conservatory. So one person simply destroyed my devotion to music.
One person can ruin everything.
But who knows, probably it is all for the better. The fact that I didn't become a pianist, because it is extremely difficult.
I look at your hands now and wonder, could you possibly...
I could hardly ever take an octave.
Do you have any unforgettable musical experience? Maybe something inspired and amazed you in a way that's completely turned your idea of music upside down.
You know, for me, music has always been about memories associated with some discoveries. For example, I was incredibly shocked by the first acquaintance with the organ in the Dome Cathedral in Riga. It was then that I felt this incredible power of music for the first time. It was then that I realized that I do not just listen and enjoy, that this music takes me to some unknown destination. After that, I wrote a poem about it where I compared music to walking on the clouds.
This is incredible.
Since then, I can turn on Bach at any time and listen to him with pleasure.
Infinitely.
Yes, infinitely. I just adore all of his preludes because I feel that I'm just melting while I listen, and I don't care who I am or what I have or haven't achieved. And there is this other story when I was incredibly amazed by the dombyra music. Not so much with a particular cue, although they're undoubtedly captivating. Listening to them is like getting on a horse and galloping. I really like the terme, its melody, reflections. I sense some kind of hidden step notes in terme music. Once I even wrote a poem in the style of hokku, singing the song of the steppes, beware of breaking your voice. What I meant was, do not shout, do not strain your voice, the steppe is huge, and you can sing this song 100 times before you will cross the steppe. And I remember there was this funny case when I angered Karshyga Akhmedyarov.
Oh, really?
Dombyra virtuoso. We were at a conference dedicated to the Margulan readings, and there I read a report where it mentioned that Kazakh music is always about personalities. We are not a collective people.
I absolutely agree.
We have akins, poets, batirs, kuishi.
We don't possess collective creativity.
And then I said that I don't understand the folk instruments orchestra.
Orchestra.
Yes, it's great, but not to my taste. After I finished my report, Karshyga spoke. He pointed his finger at me and said, "This man wants to destroy our orchestra." I was shocked. How could anyone possibly twist my words like this? I was just talking about the worldview of the nomads, and this is how he twisted everything. Then, during a break, he came up to me and said, "The orchestra will exist." I said, "God bless it. What have I got to do with it?" So what I want to say is that my perception of music is very personal. I cannot listen to it in a concert hall because of all the sneezing, coughing, and other noises that bother me. I used to turn on the stereo at home to capture all the nuances of a certain piece. Now I hardly ever listen to music, and I think it's bad. You know, I sometimes ask my readers this question: how often do you look at the sky? And it is the same with music.
One needs to look.
Because music is like the sky.
This is amazing. This is truly wonderful. As for the orchestras, I'd like to tell you that I once asked this question to Akhmedyarov. He's a great connoisseur. I asked him about the question theorists and practicing musicians were arguing about, whether an orchestra was needed or not, because it was created following the model of the Russian folk orchestra.
Yes, exactly.
And it seems as if it's killing the individuality and uniqueness of the Kazakh intonation, because our music has always been personality-driven, it has never been a collective product. And there's also this ability for improvisation, for solo performance.
Performer's expression.
Yes, he gave me a very interesting answer. He said theorists can say whatever they want, but whatever is viable will remain. Whether the theorists like it or not, but the Kurmangazi Orchestra and all the folk instruments orchestras in our country, they exist and will continue to exist because they are rooted in the programs of colleges, music schools, conservatories. They exist, but they have already created something new. This is not the kind of key that glorifies individuality with personal intonation. These are orchestral pieces which become the next step in the development of Kazakh music. If these orchestras were not welcomed and well received, they would have gone extinct long ago. And now, do tell me about your cinema experience, those mass performances you organize.
I used to do that, not anymore.
Is it a continuation of what you found in literature, or is it a completely different side of your work?
This is all one. I have a feeling that each of us has only created one thing. One poem, one film, well, I don't know, a single piece of music. The rest are variations.
Variations.
Yes, and in this regard, whatever you do, the topic is the same. That is, now my main job is collecting legends, folklore, and trying to understand them.
И попытка понять, что это такое. Потому что у меня было всегда такое подозрение.
Because I always had a suspicion that there is a hidden knowledge in our customs and rituals. This is like the 10 biblical commandments. If you stick to them, it will make your life easier. And that's why I decided to dive into that. I got carried away with all this, and it feeds everything I do. Cinema, poems, different events, ballet librettos. As all this is just one thing. I just found a spring from which I can draw endlessly. And I want to compare our rituals with the rituals of other Turkic peoples, and then with the whole world, as we all are one.
Did you even have a time when you thought, oh, this author is so wonderful, or someone made such an incredible show, I can't possibly do better? Do you ever have such thoughts? Maybe when you were younger?
No, why not? Almost every single time I can get envious, there's no shame in that. Why should one fear being envious? This is a common thing, and it is also an incentive to get better.
Better.
The feeling that you forgot something, didn't do something, that you need to rush and get better at it.
And what about the attitude towards your own voice, towards yourself? This is my voice, this is what I say, and this is what makes me unique and different from everyone else, from the whole world. Is there such a thing?
Absolutely.
You believe in both things.
Exactly. That's true. I remember once I used to feel really intimidated just by looking at a library and thinking, so much has been written already, what are you trying to achieve? Or, thinking about many films that have already been made. But then I realized that the picture of the world would be incomplete without me.
That's really good.
Yes, you are, in fact, a small grain of sand, but each era is remembered by its voices.
Your very own tune.
Your own tune, exactly.
Thank you so much, Bakhyt. I hope to see you again soon.
I will see you.